I always have to resituate myself. Oh, Lord, I always do this. All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. Got to think twice. Happy Wednesday, and I'm very, very happy to be here with all of you today for day 3 of the live YouTube series dissecting my book, The Divine Design. Thank you for being here. And yeah, this is going to be an exciting topic. So say hello if you can on the chat box. Let me know where you're from. It's really good to be here. It's Thursday for you, Susie. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Hello from Texas. And MS, I don't know what MS is. Minnesota, maybe? Indiana, the Netherlands, Northern Ireland, Switzerland, Sweden, Scotland, Canada, Serbia, Colorado, Egypt, Central Florida, Croatia, Paris, yay, Brazil. Have you been able to get the book? Somebody from, I think it was Mexico, couldn't get the book. Australia, Slovakia, Orcas Island. Yes, in Kindle. Okay. Glad you could get it at least in the Kindle version. All right, let's start. Hi, France. Okay, so we are talking about my book, The Divine Design. It came out about 2 weeks ago. You can get it on many different online bookstore links, including Amazon, Book Deposit or Book Depository or something in Europe, Barnes & Nobles, all kinds of places. My energy is very mellow right now. Yeah, I'm grateful for all of you guys for being here. Let's dive in. So today we're going to talk about we're going to dive just a tad bit into how the earth and humanity as one collective basically fell down into a much lower dimensional field, the third dimension, which is where we find ourselves now. So if you've read the book or you're starting to read the book, you will remember that Earth was originally created in a fifth dimensional field, fifth dimensional state of awareness. And humanity and all beings on the planet were in a fifth dimensional state of awareness and a fifth dimensional field. So they were physically in the 5D. And if you also remember in the book, your body has to hold 80% of the frequency of a dimension in order to physically experience that dimension. 99.999% of humanity right now is not holding 80% of the fifth dimensional field. As much as we want to force and effort ourselves into this belief that we are all in 5D or we're in 5D, we are tapping into fifth dimensional consciousnesses. It's very different. We are accessing fifth dimensional awareness and accessing fifth dimensional consciousnesses and beginning to experience ourselves in fifth dimensional states of awareness and states of being, but we have not physically anchored into the 5D. And I dive in a little bit about what that means, physically anchoring in as opposed to tapping into. And the reason I bring that up is because tapping into consciousnesses or energies is how humanity fell into a third dimensional field. And it is humanity that brought the physical earth plane down into that lower dimensional field. And it was through this experience of humanity having the capability of pulling an earth body down into lower dimensional fields that it became that there was an awareness by the Galactic Federation of Light that human bodies can impact the planetary body, which is when the Earth was in a third dimensional field. There was a first initial call that went out for what we call quote unquote light workers. Human bodies or consciousnesses that would incarnate into human bodies. And those human bodies would hold the intention of more and more light. And as those human bodies held more light, it would impact the planetary body in holding more light. So when the Earth was first designed in the 5D, this was a new experiment. This had never been done before. Okay, so the way in which this has unraveled and having the physical bodies, the human physical bodies on the earth plane going through and having souls or consciousnesses incarnating and going through this evolutionary shift into the 7th D with earth had never really been done in this way. And so there wasn't an awareness that those physical bodies would be able to necessarily pull earth down in the way that it did. It also wasn't in the Galactic Federation of Light's awareness, although there is free will, and this is a hard one for us to understand, but there wasn't this awareness or this intention that human bodies and the consciousnesses in the humans participating as a fifth dimensional human would choose to start to move into and experience lower states of consciousness. This was something that began to unravel based on free will. And because everything is in a quantum field, everything is accessible. All energies, all consciousnesses are accessible in any now moment. Now, if you remember, if you are in a fifth dimensional state of awareness, you have access to any dimensional state of awareness below your frequency. But in order to access higher dimensional frequencies or consciousnesses, your body has to start to vibrate at that frequency. So a fifth dimensional human has access to fourth dimensional energies, third dimensional energies through intention, intending to experience them. Right? So over millions of years and a lot of other stuff that unraveled, humans began to tap into these experiences, which are consciousness or energy. And the more that a human body started accessing lower consciousnesses, lower energies like control, the human body started to hold those vibrations and those frequencies. So your body is going to reflect the consciousnesses that you're choosing to experience and be in. So for instance, right now, if you are choosing fear throughout your day, consciously or unconsciously, your body is going to hold that frequency. If you're always experiencing fear, your body will be in a lower frequency than somebody that is choosing to not experience fear. It's much more complicated, but that's the simplified version of what happened, with a ton of stuff in between. And yeah, there's so much. There's so much. I don't even know where to start with all of this, but um, there were fifth dimensional human bodies, and then eventually there became fourth dimensional human bodies, and then there were all kinds of fourth dimensional beings and races that were created. And the fourth dimensional races that were created at this time really had a field day, and started playing on the earth plane. and really started to bring humanity down. But let me just read a little bit about what happened during that time. I'm trying to choose. So let me just read also the very first page of chapter 5. Okay, so chapter 5, this is every single time I start to read a part of the book and go into this, it's like overwhelming for me. Oh Lord, I should probably start practicing reading this a little bit more. Um, I want to just read the first page of chapter 5 to give you guys an idea of the 7 key reasons for Earth's descent from the 5D field to the 3D field. And then I'm going to skip to um, section 5. Okay. So I'm going to just read, it's page 69 if you have the hard cover. Chapter 5, Earth's Fall from Grace. Earth was a free will planet with millions of higher dimensional consciousnesses incarnating onto her. What occurred a few million years into her experiment was something we never could have imagined. We have called this moment in Earth's history Earth's first fall from grace. Earth descended from the 5th dimensional field down to the 3rd dimensional field. It was a slow, meticulous process that occurred over millions of linear years. The other interesting thing about this experience is that many of you were on the planet at this time. Many of you have the awareness of this. You have memories of this. Your soul was in a 5th dimensional body, maybe 4th dimensional body. And many of you were watching this off the planet. This was a very huge moment. And I say moment because everything is in the now. So even though it took millions of years to quote unquote watch this happen, it was also a moment. And it was a very heartbreaking moment for humanity, for Earth. Uh, it was devastating in a lot of ways. And a lot of you were there. So 5.1, how Earth shifted into the 3D field. There are 7 key reasons for Earth's descent from the 5D field to the 3D field. And a field is a dimensional field, a spectrum of consciousness. The first one, number 1, the variety of beings entering human forms. The second, free will. The third, access to the quantum field. 4, the role of the ego. 5, the physical form's ability to anchor lower dimensions. It's really important. 6, the design of 4D races. And 7, the human form's frequency impacting the Earth's frequency. So it was fascinating to be able to watch the power of the human form impacting the Earth's form in the way that it did, which again is why we have what we call light warriors or light workers, star seeds, whatever you want to call it. It was during this time that we realized, oh my God, human physical bodies can impact the Earth's frequency. So when she was reinvented, so to speak, in the 3rd dimensional field, they needed human bodies to assist her, i.e. the light worker. All right, so let's skip to 5.5. Let's go a little bit into anchoring into lower dimensional fields, and then I'll answer questions because I'm sure there's so many questions. And I just want to remind you guys that this is millions of years of history. So there are so many things that occurred. and so many subcategories of what happened, right? And it's really important to understand that this book did not go into detail during this time. It simply is an overview, a very quick overview of what happened. Okay, so anchoring into lower dimensional fields. But what I think is so important about what this section that I'm going to read is that it's what we're doing right now, but in the reverse. So pay attention to it and notice that this is exactly what we're doing, but in the reverse, we're going up. The fifth pivotal reason for the fall was the anchoring of the physical form into lower dimensional fields. Anchoring into a dimensional field requires the human body to hold 80% of its frequency in that dimension. For example, a 4D human form is anchored into the 4D field when 80% of its frequency is in the 4D frequency. It may be holding some 5D and 6D frequencies, but most of the frequency in its form is 4D. So you have to think of frequency as like a think of it as like a tone, okay, or like a number, okay. The form is experiencing itself as a 4D frequency. The higher consciousness within the 4D human, which is all of us, we are consciousness, right, is experiencing a reality through the lens of the 4D field. Again, it's the human body. We said this in day 2 yesterday. That's the human body that is elevating or shifting into higher frequencies and higher dimensional fields, allowing the consciousness to have the experience. It may feel, the higher consciousness, the soul as well, may feel 5D consciousness or 6D consciousness, which is just experiences. It's states of being, states of awareness. A state of awareness is fear. A state of awareness is joy. A state of awareness is peace. A state of awareness is flow. A state of awareness is anxiety. A state of awareness is attachment. These are all states of awareness, states of being. This higher dimensional, higher consciousness. So it may feel 5D consciousness or 6D consciousness. These consciousnesses in 5D are more peace, flow, presence, right? 6D consciousnesses are even higher than that, right? But if it's anchored into the 4D field, if the human body is anchored into the 4D field, its reality will be seen through the lens of the 4D field. So most of its experiences will be 4D awarenesses, states of being. As we have stated in a previous chapter, the way the human understands and navigates its reality is by digesting external consciousnesses, which creates an experience. If you haven't read the book, go back and read this chapter. I think it's in chapter 3. What they're saying is that when you have an external experience, okay, that external experience is going in and it's digesting that energy that's coming from that external experience, and it's creating a reality for you. The frequency of those external consciousnesses, so you have an experience, the frequency of that experience moves into the body and through the human form, and it shifts the body into higher or lower frequencies. So if you're continuing to have external experiences that are full of fear, right? Or they're full of anxiety. So you're constantly experiencing things where you're fighting with a lot of people. You're constantly experiencing um, uh, arguments with people. You're constantly experiencing a survival state where you're having to like look over your back. I don't know. I'm just throwing out examples. These are not good examples, but these are experiences that are going to move into the body, give you the experience of the external reality. Oh my God, I'm fighting with someone. Oh my God, I have anxiety from this. Oh my God, this is creating experiences in me. And then the body holds that frequency based on what it's digesting from that external experience. It's like if you were to eat tons and tons of really crappy food, your body is going to gain weight. If you have a really healthy diet where you're eating like really light foods, or you go on an actual strict diet, your body's going to lose weight. It's the exact same thing. What you consume from the external energetic world, energetically, what you consume energetically is going to impact your energetic body. Does that make sense? Every experience is going to impact your energetic frequency, meaning your bodies. Not you, you're a consciousness, but your physical body will be impacted. Just imagine it like eating food, right? And how your physical body reacts in terms of weight. It's the exact same thing. So, when the 5D human began to experience 4D consciousnesses. So a 4D consciousness, it would be control. A 4D consciousness would be manipulation. A 4D consciousness would be, um, I think I have examples of 4D consciousnesses. It would be restriction, or force, effort, right? Those are 4D consciousnesses, efforting into something, forcing something, controlling something, manipulating something, right? Attaching to outcome. That's 4D consciousnesses. When the 5D human began to experience 4D consciousnesses, those consciousnesses moved into the 5D human form. The 4D consciousness is a lower frequency than the frequency within the 5D human form. When it enters into the human form, it will move slower because it spins slower. It holds more density. Imagine thicker, denser energy trying to move through a faster, clearer energy field. The denser energies slow down and can settle into the human body. As the 5D human experienced 4D consciousnesses, the body began to hold 4D frequencies. Slowly, millions of years, you guys, millions of years, slowly shifting the body down in frequency. The more 4D consciousness the human experienced, the more the physical body held and shifted into 4D frequencies. Over time, as the human continued to choose to experience 4D consciousnesses, the body eventually anchored into the 4D field. And the way that they eventually started choosing is that sporadically, out of the blue, they would just tap into a state of control. And then they would take that state of control and they would start to experience it. And they would start choosing to experience control. I want you to imagine that in a 4D field, when you're in a 5D field, it's like that's all you're experiencing, right? There's 6D field, there's a 7D field. And as a 5D human body, you have access to whatever you want to choose to experience. But because all humans were in that 5D field, there was this awareness or intention of, from that state of awareness, why would you choose to go into lower states? Why would you choose control? Why would you choose restriction? Why would you choose to move out of flow state? Like, why, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't have the answer to the why. And they didn't give me the answer to the why. I think the Galactic Federation of Light, and so many other higher dimensional beings were also confused as to, wait, why are they choosing there? They have all of these things to choose from, kind of, right? This is a very mundane kindergarten way of explaining this. So take it with a grain of salt. It's much more complex. Okay. But that's what the humans started doing. And so as they started to kind of tap into lower consciousnesses, in this 4D field, the 4D field started to get bigger. And the bigger the 4D field got, the more humans started focusing on that 4D field. It's very similar to what we're doing right now. Bring yourself to what you're experiencing right now. What's happening on the planet? More and more humans are starting to choose to be in higher states of consciousness. They're starting to choose to step out of control. They're starting to choose to step into more of a flow state. You're starting to choose to let go of attachment, correct? Is that not what you're doing right now? And what is happening? There is this thing called a 5D field that more and more humans are stepping into. And what is happening as more and more humans are talking about this, experiencing this, living these new states of awareness, that 5D field is getting bigger, right? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there weren't as many humans experiencing what we consider 5D states of awareness, states of consciousness. Now it's everywhere. Get it? You're going through the exact flip opposite of what humanity went through millions of years ago. It's not that hard to understand. You're in it right now. So if you're confused as to how and why, look at your experience right here, right now. It is the exact same thing, but on the flip side. How did humanity move down into a 3D field? How in the hell is humanity moving up to a 5D field? Explain that to somebody that's never been on the planet. It's almost impossible. Well, we're starting to tap into higher states of consciousness. What does that mean? Well, we're starting to choose to experience new things. Well, why would you do that? Well, because we don't like the states of consciousness that we're in. So we want to choose new states of consciousness, new ways of being. What happens when the human starts to do that? Their body increases in frequency. Why does it do that? Because the experiences that they are now having out in the external world by their choice, they're choosing to be in more of a flow state. They're choosing to be less restrictive. They're choosing to not buy into fear and play in fear. They're choosing to step away from experiences that no longer serve them. They are now digesting consciousnesses that are in a higher frequency. They're now living through choice in these higher frequencies that are now impacting their physical body. What does that mean? It means their physical body is starting to increase in frequency. What does that do? It increases the entire human collective's frequency. What does that do? It increases the planetary body's frequency. And what does that do? It moves humanity and the earth into new dimensional fields. It's that simple. If you're confused as to how we shifted down, just look at how you're shifting up and reverse it. It's that simple. Over time, as the human continued to choose to experience 4D consciousnesses, the body eventually anchored into the 4D field. We are eventually going to anchor into a 5D field. We have not anchored there yet. It's going to take quite some time, perhaps. This did not happen overnight. We watched for millions of linear years as 5D humans began to access and experience the 4D field. The more humans accessed the 4D field, the larger the field became and the easier it was to access. It's a lot easier for humans to access 5D states of awareness now than it was 10 years ago. Why? Because more humans are living in 5D states of awareness now. It's just how the natural physics of evolution and energy work. The more humans access the 4D field, the larger the field became and the easier it was to access. The 4D field was expanded on the earth plane and the 5D humans were beginning to anchor into the 4D field. Here we go. Listen to this because it's exactly what's happening now, except on the flip side. Eventually, 5D humans in a 5D field stood on the same earth plane with 4D humans in a 4D field. How many teachers and humans are talking about the split, that there are 2 earths, that there are 2 worlds being created? It's already happened millions of years ago. Eventually, 5D humans in a 5D field stood on the same earth plane with 4D humans in a 4D field. Hundreds of thousands of human bodies held 4D frequencies and were standing in a 4th dimension and experiencing 4th dimensional consciousness. A human could now choose to incarnate into a 4D human form anchored in a 4D field, or a 5D human form anchored into a 5D field. This is very difficult for us to understand. That's why it's so difficult for us to understand how there could be a 5th dimensional Earth and a 3rd dimensional Earth, because we think linearly, we think physicality, like there's going to be 2 Earths. It's 2 dimensions. Imagine that Russian doll. Okay? There's going to be 2 separate physical realities that are going to be experienced. And it's impossible for our linear minds to conceptualize this until we start experiencing it. But it happened millions of years ago. Both human forms and dimensional fields were available to experience on the same earth plane. It's exactly what's happening right here, right now. It's insane to me. Like literally this is insane. Like it's crazy to me. The human's reality would be based on which human form and dimensional field they chose to incarnate into. So this is millions of years, right? That this was taking place. Let's provide a visual of what this looked like on the earth plane. For millions of years, the only dimensional field experienced by the human was the 5D. The only reality experienced by the human was in the 5th dimension. All humans were experiencing themselves in the 5D. As humans began to tap into, experience, and anchor into the 4D field, that field opened on the earth plane. There were now 2-dimensional fields energetically visible based on how a human was choosing to experience their reality. There were 5D humans and 4D humans on the same earth plane. This is how the quantum field works and how the earth started to shift down into lower dimensional fields. That's just one of the 7 main reasons why this happened. There are 6 other very important, very pivotal reasons that this occurred. That was not the only reason. Okay, so there were many other reasons why. But the reason I wanted to talk about that one is because it's very relevant to what we're experiencing right now. So if you have doubt, if you have like, there's no way that happened, if you're thinking that's insane, that doesn't even make sense, I ask you to look at what's going on the earth right now. That's all the proof you need. You just flip it in reverse. That's why the divine design at times can be very challenging for people to understand, because it isn't until we live in a physical reality, we want physical proof. So it isn't until we physically experience something that we believe it. Well, you're all physically experiencing an evolutionary shift that is allowing the human body to move into higher dimensional fields in the exact same way that humanity and the human body experienced shifting down into lower dimensional fields. It's the exact same thing. And eventually, what happened was 4D races were created by higher dimensional consciousnesses in the human form. These 4D races started incarnating onto the planet as well, and they started to create even more havoc. And what eventually happened, and almost happened a couple thousand years ago, and almost happened in the 1920s, was that there was going to be a physical destruction of the earth. They were literally going to physically destroy the earth based on what they were creating. And so there was an intervention, not millions of years ago, 15 to 20,000 years ago, and wiped the entire planet off. And so many of you were on the planet when literally overnight the planet was wiped clean. There were massive, massive floods. It was cataclysmic. Cataclysmic? there was physical destruction that cleared it. And so deep down in your memories somewhere, if you were on the planet, you remember this. It was devastating. But there was awarenesses that we had as consciousness of what was going on, so we did know. There were millions of humans that didn't quite remember and understand because they were in lower states of consciousness. Um, and then physical destruction almost happened again about 4,000 years ago, and there was an intervention. And then physical destruction almost happened in the 20s, all by fourth dimensional races and fourth dimensional beings that are on the planet, disguising themselves as humans. There's energies that are manipulating the human. So now, because of the harmonic convergence, if you've read that chapter, the harmonic conversion, we're good, we're solid, we're on our way, we're going. We can't be pulled back. The earth can't be physically destroyed. The harmonic convergence is in 1987, and it was when earth shifted her light quotient into this 50% mark. And once earth is holding 50% of her light or more, one of the laws that were created was that it is impossible for earth to be pulled back down. It's almost like when you're playing tug of war. And there's that one moment in tug of war where you pull just enough and it's done, right? You have to pull just enough to that one inch pull, and then they all come with you. You got them, right? That's the same thing with the harmonic convergence. As soon as earth was able to hold that 50% of light quotient in her physical body, tug of war was over. And now it's smooth sailing, except it's not smooth sailing for us, because now we have to watch the entire third dimensional field collapse. And what that means is we have to see everything that we have been caught up in, that we have believed, that we have been manipulated into, that we have been mind controlled into. And when we see that, we then have a choice to step out of it. How did humanity get pulled down? Choice. How is humanity going to pull themselves back up? Choice. But you don't know what you are choosing until you know what you are in. You have to see what you are in order to choose to step out of it. This is why we have to see all of the corruption and the evil and the greed and the mind control and the coercion and the tyranny. Because if we don't see it, how in the hell are we going to choose to step out of it? If we don't see that we're disempowered, how are we going to choose to be empowered? If we don't see that we have been silencing ourselves and been in an prison and been in victim mentality, how are we possibly going to choose to step out of it? We have to see all of that. That's why when everybody gets so caught up in, oh my God, it's getting so much worse. So no, it's not. It's imploding. It's getting so much better because look at what you get to see now. Now you get to choose. But humanity still is in a deep state of amnesia, even the ones that are quote unquote awakening. And they're like, oh my God, it's getting so much worse. Oh my God, I can't keep going. Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Dude, wake up. This is exactly what you agreed to. It's getting better. It's called massive imploding of a third dimensional realm. And we don't go anywhere. Welcome to that piece. You don't get to escape out of it. You physically stand in it, even when you're in a fifth dimensional frequency. You still stand in it. You still see it. The fifth dimensional humans saw what the fourth dimensional humans were doing. It's not separate. It's not like it's a completely separate world floating all by itself in some, space and universe, and it doesn't see what's happening to the fourth dimensional Earth. It's all on the same planetary body in different dimensional fields. You see all of it. You can't escape it. And this idea that somehow we're going to be able to no longer and the idea that if you talk about the evil and you point out the evil, Is perpetuating it? That is the biggest bunch of bullshit. No, what it's doing is it's allowing all of us to see what we're in. That's it. What you want to pay attention to, and I'm going to start answering questions. What you want, how is it 2:41 already? Jesus. What you want to pay attention to is what energies you're consuming. What energies are you consuming all day long? Just like if you were on a quote unquote diet and you were watching your food intake, okay, you wanted to lose weight. What foods are you eating? If you wanted to quote unquote lose weight, I'm not a fan of diets and any of this, okay, but it's a beautiful analogy. If you wanted to lose weight, would you eat cheese and butter and pizzas and cookies and brownies all day long? No, you would know that that would cause you to gain weight. So if you are consciously choosing to move through this transformational and evolutionary process, are you going to choose to devour fear? Are you going to choose to eat fear all day long? Or are you going to say, no, 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 I'm not playing in that fear? That doesn't mean you're not going to feel fear. It means that the second you feel fear, the second you feel anxiety, the second you feel it being consumed by you choose to not grab it. You choose to not hold it. You choose to not let it be a part of you. You just let it move. Just let it go through you. Just let it go through you. It's not you. It's not what you're choosing as your reality. It's just moving through. It's just moving through. And then be conscious of what you are choosing to focus on. Be conscious of what you are choosing to play in. Be conscious. That's why when I did that video yesterday about the anxiety and fear and worry that we're in, it's because you are choosing to live in the future. You're choosing to create that anxiety, fear, and worry unbeknownst to you because you're trying to be in a future and you can't figure out the future. All you're doing is perpetuating, eating fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. You're choosing it, whether you're conscious of it or not, you're choosing it. Let go of the future and you will stop eating fear, anxiety, stress, or worry. Do you want to know why the present moment is so powerful? Because you're not digesting those consciousnesses. You're not. You're so acutely aware of what is in front of you that you are pristine in what you're choosing. Okay, what questions do you guys have? Because I don't know how in the heck it got to be 2:43. What are there any questions about this chapter or any other chapter in the divine design? But anyways, I could go on and on about this shift that we're in currently and you know the insane shifting down from the 5D to the 3D. But I hope this makes a little bit more sense. I hope this brings clarity to anybody that was reading that chapter, which is only what, like 12 pages. Trying to describe what happens in millions of years is in 12 pages is hard. Yeah, what you believe is a huge part. Your thoughts are going to create your reality. Absolutely, it's going to override anything, always. Okay? But if you are digesting, if you're choosing to digest energies or experiences that hold fear, it's going to perpetuate any thoughts, that are keeping you in that state of awareness. So your mind is very, very powerful. I think eventually what starts to happen is you start to realize what you're putting in your body physically. We have to. It's part of the evolution. We will start recognizing the impact of what we're putting into our bodies is having on our energetics, on our frequencies, regardless of what thoughts we're telling ourselves. The energy is eventually going to override the thoughts at some point. You mentioned how the 4D races have their races have disappeared. Can almost entirely. Yeah, but back in the 20s, they were energetically pulled off the Earth plane, but not all of them. Most of them. Most of the 4D races were pulled off. And then most of the reptilian energies were pulled off, but there are still energies on the planet, about 10% of what used to be on the planet. How are frequencies measured? I forgot how they measure it. The Galactic Federation of Light can measure the frequency. I forgot what they said in the book. Does anybody remember what they said in the book in terms of how they measure it? It's like they put out a pulse and they can vibrate, they can feel it. The physical reality can't measure it right now. It's probably better that we can't measure the frequency. We're too physical. We're too dense. Maybe there's like scientific lab somewhere that's measuring frequency and I just don't know about it. Can you reverse cancer and heal with frequency and sound? Sure. You can reverse anything that you have in your body, any ailment. Watching with my 7-year-old in Australia, he's afraid of swooping birds and doesn't want to go to school. We are talking about his focus and how he's feeding the fear. Well, it might be a legitimate fear he's having, you know. It could be a very legitimate fear of there's probably something he's experienced either in the dream state or in a past life that he's remembering. Um, so it's less about him buying into the fear and it's more about him what's the storyline that he's telling himself? Like go into the storyline. Well, if a bird comes down, then what's it going to do? What's the bird going to do? And then you want to say, has that ever happened? Right? You want to start to dissect the story that's creating the fear, right? So it's not so much that he's buying into the fear, it's more that he's buying into the story that's creating the fear. So you want to figure out what the story is. What's the story that he's telling himself? And then start to say, is that true? Is that really going to happen? Right? You start dissecting that. No, does your light quotient go up ever? Your light quotient does not go up ever. Does the original dimensional field we came from before entering into this experience affect how we operate in this 3D field, in this 3D body with our light quotient? Yeah, for sure. I mean, 1000%. So here's an example. Let's say, as a consciousness, you were existing prior to incarnating in what we would call an 18th dimensional field, right? And then you moved into this 12th dimensional grid and you're holding yourself as an 18th dimensional consciousness within this 12th dimensional grid. And you are now choosing to incarnate into the planet, into the human body. So let's say that you take 7% of your 18th dimensional consciousness into the human body. Okay, so you've got 8% or 7% of an 18th dimensional frequency. This is very hard to describe, but uh, try to visualize 18th dimension compared to a third dimension, right? Really high frequency, high vibrational frequency. And you're going to take 7% of that and drop it in the human body. Now imagine you're a consciousness that you originated in a seventh dimensional uh, frequency, much lower frequency, and you're going to take 7% of that frequency and drop it into the human body. That consciousness is going to experience the human body differently. It's just going to have different experiences based on its consciousness that it originated from, that's held in the physical form and the quotient. So if you have a seven, this is getting a little bit complicated, but if you came as a consciousness from from a seventh dimensional field of awareness, okay, and you're bringing in 11% of your light, does that equate to an 18th dimensional consciousness dropping in with 6% of their light? I don't know. right? We can't comprehend this, and we can't measure this, and we can't make sense of this because we don't have a way to tap into it. We don't have a way to understand dimensional fields. We don't have a way to understand light quotient. What do you mean 7% of 18th dimensional? What do you mean 6% of a seventh dimensional frequency or consciousness? We can't, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's these conversations are like, they're fun to talk about, but they don't, they're a memory, there's a remembrance that you have inside of you where it's like, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense. I remember taking a percentage of my consciousness and moving into the human body, or maybe not, right? There is perhaps a remembrance of it, but it's a very, very difficult concept to not only make sense of, but what does it really matter? I mean, it matters in the sense that it's part of how we got here, but it's not something I don't think to have to really like grapple around. But maybe you love grappling around it and really dissecting it. Maybe it's a lot of fun, you know. Yeah, if you're hypersensitive, a lot of people are very empathic, right? A lot of people, they can feel just so much. You probably are holding a high light quotient, or you're from a higher dimensional awareness consciousness in the human body. Do I think I'll incarnate again? I don't think so. I don't think I will. I don't know, maybe. So the moon is a feminine consciousness, meaning that she's holding the vibration that we would consider feminine. So presence, more presence, more flow, more empowerment, more of a sense of peace. There's a fire, but it's a very grounded, fiery energy. We would call that feminine. Okay. And so the moon is just like the earth, just like our physical body, the moon is a form that is holding the consciousness that we call the moon, just like the earth is holding a consciousness that we call earth, just like our human body is holding a consciousness we call human. Okay. None of that is actually, it's the physical form is not what is real. It's the consciousness within that physical form. So the sun is the same way, but the sun is holding a very masculine energy. And so the reason that the moon was designed and created was to be able to balance out the amount of masculine energy that was going to be experienced on the earth plane in the third dimension. And so it's like this teeter-totter, right? It's a powerful force of feminine consciousness that's always emanating down that frequency for the sole purpose of balancing us and balancing the earth body as well. That's why there's so much awareness and so much focus on the full moon and the new moon. That's why the moon creates those waves on the it's so it's deeply connected to water. 'Cause it is a water state, it's flow. Feminine energy, feminine consciousness is flow, but it's power. How powerful is the ocean? How powerful are waves? Waves are so powerful. They literally can knock you down, but they're grounded in a flow state. There's something like beautiful about it. There's no force to it. It's just this natural flow. That's why there's so many surfers that are like, there is nothing on the planet like surfing a wave because you're literally surfing feminine energy, feminine consciousness, right? So it's a balance. It's not a hollow satellite. That's the story people want you to believe. Why do they want you to believe that story? Because again, anything that is going to empower us, anything that is going to remind us of what we're doing here, anything that is going to pull us out of victim mentality and fear, um, and disempowerment, anything that's going to pull us out of that, the sun, be afraid of the sun, don't go in the moon is hollow, it's a satellite, it's been invaded. All of these stories, okay, are going to keep us disempowered, and it's full of fear. Any story that is full of fear, investigate it a little bit more. Is there something that is being pulled from our awareness and our remembrance? Because God forbid we should actually start to remember the truth of what this entire divine design is all about. Because in that remembrance, you will never be able to be silenced. You will never be able to not remember. You will never fall for the bullshit that this programmed matrix wants you to believe. And the moon being a hollow satellite is one of those stories. Anything that is based in fear you wanna look at. Be afraid of the sun, look at that. Be afraid of this, look at those stories, and just critically think a little bit more. Regardless of who says I've been on the moon and who says this and who says that, go deeper, go deeper. Why are they wanting us to not pay attention to this? Or why are they wanting us to be afraid of this? Or why are they wanting us to not, um, uh, receive from this? Why? Why do you think they say the sun is dangerous and not to go in the sun? If there is anything that you should be in, it's the freaking sun. Do you know where the consciousness of the moon came from? I don't know if they told us in the book, um, but it was an agreement between the consciousness that we call Earth and the consciousness we call the moon. It's kind of like an agreement that you have with your mom. It's a contract. Right? So, like, when you incarnated, you created contracts with family members and friends and lovers and partners. It's the same thing. That contract was an agreement. I'm gonna do this, and the Earth's gonna do this, right? And there's an agreement to what the role is. There's a role that the moon is playing for the Earth. I don't think there's a firmament. I think there's a dimensional grid around the Earth, and perhaps people are confusing the energetic grid, right? The 12th dimensional grid as the filament or whatever. But from what I was shown, there's no filament around the earth. But I don't know anything other than what was given to me, and what I was given is just something given, and it can be taken with a grain of salt. We have to be able to be humble enough to say, I know nothing, you know, and yet I'm going to stand in my knowingnesses. That's true humility. I know nothing, but I know what I know, and I'm gonna hold my knowingness, but I know nothing. And you can hold your knowingnesses, but it's this idea that I know everything, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. And this book is the end all be all. It is the absolute truth. Be cautious of people like that. Be very cautious of people like that. Nobody truly knows the absolute answer, not if they're on the earth plane. Even channelers that channel information. We really want to be humble in our knowingnesses. Just because the Galactic Federation of Light gave this book to me and I wrote it doesn't mean that I have the answers or that I'm going to say that I know everything and that this is absolute truth. I'm humble enough to say I know nothing other than what I'm choosing to know. And what I'm choosing to know, you don't need to know as your truth at all. Oh, the Van Allen belt might be it. Yeah, you're right. What is the Van Allen belt? That might be what the 12th dimensional grid is. The Heart Math Institute measures the Earth's frequency. Oh, that's right. The Schumann resonance measures the Earth's frequency. It'd be nice to measure the human collective frequency. That would be awesome if we could measure the human collective frequency as well. I really don't want to write a follow-up book. I do not want to write a deeper, in-depth book. Um, not right now. I kind of have like a PTSD from writing it, to be completely honest. But I'm sure I'll be writing more. What is happening between the masculine and feminine energies on Earth currently and through the times? Well, there's a balancing. There's a balance. We're figuring out how to balance the masculine and the feminine frequencies or consciousnesses within our physical bodies. It's a radiation belt that humans can't pass. Oh, interesting. Yeah, might be. Why would the higher dimensional beings create 5D races or 4D races, I think is what you meant. experience, experiment, curiosity. Why'd they abduct humans? Why did they create hybrids? Just curiosity, experimentation. It's seriously that simple. It's that simple. Freaking curiosity. What can I do? What can I control? What can I create? Wow, look at this physical reality. What else can I create here? What else can I do here? Wow, look at how consciousness is held in a human body. Holy shit, how do they do that? Can I do that? This is 4D races thinking, right? Can I do that? What the hell? Let me try. Hybridization, abductions. It was all based on curiosity and control. David Hawkins was amazing. I just found him like a year ago. The human collective energy. David Hawkins might have figured this out. He's written lots about levels of consciousness. Now, David Hawkins is like when I listen to him, I feel most resonant with him out of any other teacher that I've ever heard talk. He is somebody I resonate the most with. What do you think of NASA? That's a loaded question. Loaded question. Personally, I think it is a lot of lies, a lot of manipulation and control. Listen, you guys, here's what I truly, 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 deeply believe that the more that we remember what's actually going on here, the more that we remember that the stars are actually higher dimensional consciousnesses, the more that we realize that the sun is actually here to elevate our awareness and our consciousness, the more we realize that planets are higher dimensional consciousnesses, right? Which means that, yes, there are races that are on planets, right? Yes, all of this is happening. But the more that we remember what's actually going on, the less we can be controlled. It's like we read the book and we're not only the divine design, but just this golden book is handed to us. And it's like, do you remember what this is all about? And that's truly what I believe the divine design has the capability of doing. It's like this golden book that's like, do you remember? Wake up out of the amnesia. And when you start to do that, you cannot be controlled anymore. You know the secrets. You know everything. And so you hear all of these lies, all of this manipulation, including things that NASA says, and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? They've lost their mind. That is not true. And then you're no longer controlled. You're no longer imprisoned. You're no longer manipulated. You're no longer disempowered. You're no longer in a victim state. Even as you go through all of your very human experiences that you're going through, breakups, heartache, illness, trauma, right? Whatever you're going through, even in that, if you can break out of all of the lies and manipulation that they have told us, including what NASA has told. I mean, it's a mind screw to start to think that we've been lied to about going to the moon. I'm not even going to go there. But the amount of lies that we have been told in order to keep us in the illusion that this is all just physical. Imagine if we were told, oh, these are all higher dimensional consciousness beings that you're looking up at the sky. These are your family. This is your connection to your own consciousness. This is God. This is creation. This is like, imagine if we were taught completely differently. We would be we would be in such a different state of awareness, but we're not. We're not. We're not taught that. And so it's just these baby steps and baby steps of peeling it back and also holding your truths. Let everybody have their truth. No, we absolutely went to the moon, right? No, NASA is absolutely true and real. And I know people that have worked for it. Great. Let us all have our truths. Let your truth be your truth. Let my truth be my truth. And let us just get through this massive evolutionary shift in consciousness, right? Let us just get through this. What is absolute? Good question. You tell me. I don't think anything's absolute. What does embodied IAP feel like physically? I don't know. If it was all choice and free will, then why the term fall from grace? If it was all a given choice to choose to fall from grace is just a term. It was a falling from grace. It's just words to describe it. It's not you don't have to grab the word as like fall means that they were dropped down. No, they just, we could have said moving down from grace, right? Just a word they used. It was all choice. All right, I think I'm gonna go. It's 3:06. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for reading the Divine Design. Thank you for purchasing the Divine Design. Thank you for continuing to read the Divine Design if you're still reading it. Um, I will be back tomorrow for day 4. What are we doing on day 4? Hold on, let me look. What's the subject for day 4? One second. I didn't write it down, so I don't remember. But I'm gonna look. One momento, you guys. Day 4 is the design of the 3D human body. Oh, this is gonna be fun. The design of the 3D human body. Oh my god, these subjects are so intense. So intense. Um, it's 2 p.m. tomorrow, California time. Subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed so that you can get the notifications. Um, and thanks for all your support around this book. I'll see you tomorrow where we talk about the design of the 3D human form and you know, let it all just be what it is. Deep down, all of this information is designed to be an energetic activation. And if we get caught up in our minds, meaning our thoughts and our linearity, it can be a little bit more challenging to digest this. I love you. Let's go into the 3D human body tomorrow. Be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. And thank you again for all of your support. It means the world to me. Love you.